The scent of blood is unmistakable. Metallic, sharp, a whisper of death curling in the air. It clings to the walls, the tile, the fibers of the bath mat. Clings to me. Rita's body lies still in the tub, her throat a red, gaping smile that will never speak again. The water, once clear, is now a deep crimson. Harrison sits on the bathroom floor, his tiny hands dabbed with his mother's blood, his wails cutting through the silence like a blade. This wasn't Trinity. It wasn't his pattern. His was precise, ritualistic. His victims were drowned before the final cut. But this was personal, deliberate, a message written in arterial spray. Brian, my brother, my first ghost, the one I let slip away. He was supposed to be dead, his body sinking into darkness after I made my choice. Deborah over him. But he's back. And he has taken the only thing tethering me to the illusion of normalcy. I drop to my knees beside Rita, my breath shallow. My hands hover over her face, afraid to touch, afraid to confirm what I already know. I should feel something, grief, pain. But all I feel is the cold, creeping rage threading through my veins. Brian thinks this will set me free. That without Rita, I'll finally embrace what I was always meant to be. He's wrong. This isn't freedom. This is war. Miami Metro is a flurry of movement. Crime scene techs photographing every angle, forensics bagging evidence, Batista muttering something to Quinn about how fucked up this is. And Deb is a hurricane, pacing, chain-smoking, her eyes rimmed red. I swear to God, Dex, I'm gonna find the bastard who did this and put him in the fucking ground. She means it. She always does. But she doesn't know the truth. She doesn't know that the monster she's hunting is my own blood. I should be helping, analyzing patterns, examining spatter, playing my part. But all I can see is Rita's lifeless body, the way her blood swirled in the water like ink on paper. Brian didn't just kill her, he staged it, left her as a gift for me to find, as if he were offering up a sacrifice to my dark passenger. He wants me to embrace it, to let go of the mask. But he underestimates me. I won't let him shape me into his image. I won't let him win. The first body appears 2 nights later. A woman, throat slit, her body left sprawled across a bed in a cheap motel. The sheets are soaked in blood, the air thick with the sour tang of copper. But it's not just a kill, it's a message. The way the body is positioned, the way the blood pools, it mirrors the scene of my first kill. The nurse who had been poisoning patients at the hospital. My initiation into the code. Brian is taunting me, rewriting my story one victim at a time. I clench my fists, my nails biting into my palms. He's leading me down a path, leaving breadcrumbs in the form of bodies, daring me to follow. Fine, I'll follow. But this won't end the way he wants it to. The calls start soon after. A burner phone, ringing in the dead of night. I answer, and his voice slithers through the receiver, smooth, amused. Hello, little brother. I say nothing. You found my gift, didn't you? I thought you'd appreciate the nostalgia. My grip tightens on the phone. You think this is a game? Oh, it is. And you know it. We've always been playing Dex. You just didn't want to admit it. I close my eyes, inhaling sharply. Why Rita? He chuckles. Because she was your cage, your leash, and now you're free. I swallow the bile rising in my throat. I was never in a cage. Weren't you? His tone shifts, dark, knowing. I see you, Dex. I know what you are. And now you don't have to pretend anymore. I don't answer. I can't. Because a part of me, the part one keep buried, wants to believe him. Deb is getting too close. I see it in the way she studies the case files, in the way she obsesses over every detail. She's hunting Brian without even knowing his name. If she finds him first, if she uncovers the truth about him, about me, everything falls apart. I have to end this before she does, before Brian does something worse. Because I know him. I know how he thinks. And if he really wants to remake me in his image, then there's only one move left to make. Harrison. I feel it in my gut, the dread curling cold and tight. Brian isn't just after me. He's after my son. and I'll kill him before I let him have him. The weight of the knife feels familiar in my grip. Balanced, precise, a tool of necessity. I stare at its reflection in the dim glow of my apartment, watching the way the light catches the steel. It's not for a victim, not yet. It's for preparation, for focus. Brian has forced my hand. I should have killed him when I had the chance. I thought I had. The straps around his wrists, the cold steel digging into his skin as he lay on my table. I remember the way his eyes gleamed, almost proud, when I made my choice. Deborah over him. But he wasn't meant to walk away. And now Rita is dead. The thought burrows deep, festering like an infection. I hadn't just lost her. I had failed her. I had let Brian slip through the cracks, let him weave his way back into my life, and now her blood stains my hands as much as his. Harrison whimpers in his crib, shifting in sleep. I move to him instinctively, resting a hand against his back. His warmth seeps into my skin, a quiet reminder of what I have left. The only thing I have left. Brian is coming for him. I know it the way I know my own nature. He's building to something, leaving bodies in his wake, each one a deliberate echo of my past. The nurse, the arms dealer, the rapist. The patterns aren't just familiar, they're mine. He's rewriting my history. The next kill will be another chapter, another moment he wants me to relive. And if I don't stop him, the last page will be written in Harrison's blood. I won't let that happen. The clock on my wall ticks, each second stretching into eternity. I need to move, to hunt, but first I need to be sure. I return to Miami Metro in the early hours, slipping past the remnants of the night shift. The bullpen is quiet, save for the hum of computers and the distant murmur of officers wrapping up reports. Deb's desk is a mess of coffee cups and case files, her laptop open to a crime scene photo, Brian's latest kill. She doesn't know what she's looking at. I do. I log into the system, pulling up the evidence reports, scanning for anything that might give away Brian's next move. The crime scene photos tell me what I already expected: clean cuts, calculated positioning, a deliberate message. But there's something else. A strand of hair, collected from the motel bed, noted in the forensic report. Not the victim's, not an accident. A clue. My breath hitches. Brian never leaves anything behind unless he wants to. I magnify the image, studying the texture, the color. Blonde. A single curl, set carefully on the pillow beside the victim's head. It's meant to be seen, meant to be recognized. Rita's hair. My stomach twists. He kept it. A trophy, a reminder, or a promise. The air in the room thickens, pressing in around me. He's not just taunting me, he's leading me somewhere, and I have no choice but to follow. The next night, the burner phone rings again. I answer before the second ring. I was wondering when you'd call. Brian's voice hums through the speaker. Smooth, almost affectionate. Where are you? My voice is controlled, steady, but my grip on the phone is white-knuckled. He exhales a soft chuckle. Impatient. I like that. Enough games. Oh, but we're just getting to the good part. His tone darkens, a snake coiling around my throat. You've found my little memento, haven't you? I don't respond. He knows I have. I wonder, do you ever think about what it was like for her? He continues. The moment she realized she was going to die, the fear in her eyes, the way she tried to fight. She was strong, Dex, but not strong enough. A slow, controlled breath. I can't afford to lose control. I know what you're doing, I say, keeping my voice even. You want me to break, to lose myself. I want you to be yourself. I am. No, Brian whispers. Not yet. The line clicks dead. I stare at the phone, the silence ringing in my ears. He's pushing me, forcing my hand, and I can feel it. The shift, the unraveling. The dark passenger stirs, restless, hungry. Brian wants a war. He's about to get one. The blood is still under my fingernails. No matter how many times I scrub my hands, I can feel it there. Rita's blood, dried into the cracks of my skin, seeping into the ridges of my fingerprints like an accusation. Brian did this, and I let him live. The night air is thick, humid, pressing against my skin like the weight of a hand on my throat. I sit in my car outside a rundown apartment complex on the edge of Little Havana, a place where people don't ask questions and the walls don't hold memories for long. The address was buried in an old file, one of Brian's last known hideouts from before I left him strapped to my table. I don't expect to find him here, but I need to start somewhere. The building smells of mildew and desperation. I climb the stairs 2 at a time, my pulse steady, my mind a quiet storm. Apartment 3C. I press my ear against the door, listening. Nothing. I pick the lock with the ease of someone who's done it too many times to count. The door creaks open, revealing a space that feels untouched, yet lived in. The walls are bare, the furniture sparse. A single lamp casts a dim glow over the room, illuminating the only thing that matters. A table, and on it, a collection of photographs. I step closer, my breath slowing, sharpening. They're all of me, some from years ago, surveillance shots taken from a distance, grainy and shadowed. Others are recent. Miami Metro, my apartment, the marina where I keep my boat. And then Harrison. My grip tightens until my nails dig into my palm. There's a picture of him in his crib, another of Rita holding him at the beach. And then one more, a new one. Harrison at daycare, taken from behind the chain link fence. Brian has been watching him. The rage is ice in my veins, cold and absolute. My vision tunnels, narrowing to a single, irrefutable certainty. Brian has to die. I flip through the photos, looking for a pattern, a clue, and then I see it. Tucked beneath the others, an old newspaper clipping. A headline from decades ago. Boy found in bloodbath. Sole survivor of the Bay Harbor Butchers' first massacre. My breath catches. I know this article. I've read it before, late at night when the ghosts clawed at the edges of my mind. It was about me, about the night my mother died, about the blood, the screaming, the silence that followed. Brian kept it, not just as a memory, as a blueprint. He's recreating my past. And if I don't stop him, he'll finish it with Harrison in my place. The burner phone in my pocket vibrates. I pull it out, my thumb hovering over the answer button. I already know who it is. Did you like my collection? Brian's voice is smooth, pleased, like a snake coiling around my spine. Where are you? My voice is flat, controlled. You're getting warmer, he muses. But you're still thinking like a cop, not like us. I exhale slowly, forcing air into my lungs. You want me to come after you. I want you to understand. He pauses, letting the silence stretch between us. Harrison deserves the truth. He deserves to know what he is, what we are. He's not like us. A soft chuckle. You don't know that. Clench my jaw. You come near him again, and I will end you. Brian sighs, almost disappointed. Still pretending, even now. But don't worry, little brother. I'll help you see. I'll help you remember. The line goes dead. I stand there, the phone still in my hand, the weight of the past pressing down on me like a drowning tide. Brian isn't just trying to break me. He's trying to remake me, and I don't have much time before he finishes what he started. The night is silent, but I can hear the blood rushing in my ears, a relentless drumbeat echoing the weight of my choices. The apartment is a mausoleum of memories I never wanted to share. Each photograph another incision into my carefully constructed life. Brian has been watching, waiting, weaving his way back into my world like a shadow stretching longer with the setting sun. I slide my knife from its sheath, the familiar weight balancing in my palm. It's not for him yet, it's for me. It's Heather, a reminder of what I am, what I need to do. The photographs tell me what I already knew but refused to admit. Brian isn't just playing a game. He's reconstructing my past, piece by piece, until the final image is complete. And that final image is Harrison. My brother doesn't just want to take my son. He wants to shape him, mold him, the way we were shaped by blood and death and the absence of choice. I won't let him. I gather the photographs, sliding them into my pocket one by one, each a promise of what's to come. Then I move, slipping out of the apartment like a whisper, disappearing into the Miami night. The city hums around me. Traffic, laughter, the distant wail of sirens. Normal sounds, human sounds. I am neither. Not tonight. I drive with purpose, the addresses in my mind aligning like stars in a constellation that only I can read. Brian is meticulous, but he's also predictable. He leaves breadcrumbs because he wants me to find him. He believes he's in control. He's wrong. By the time I reach the next location, the sky is the color of bruised flesh, the city lights flickering against the dark water. The marina is quiet, the boats rocking gently against their slips, the scent of salt and oil thick in the air. I park in the shadows, stepping out into the hush of the docks. Brian's boat is here. He always did have a flair for the dramatic. I approach carefully, my knife at the ready, my breath slow and measured. The deck is empty, but the cabin light is on, glowing faintly through the small window. An invitation. I step aboard, my fingers brushing the railing, every muscle coiled. The door creaks as I push it open, revealing the scene inside. A chair, a roll of duct tape, and in the center of the room, a single item placed with careful precision. A rattle. Harrison's rattle. The breath leaves my lungs in one sharp exhale. Brian has been in my home. I reach for my phone. My fingers numb as I dial the number I never wanted to call. Deb answers on the second ring. Dex, what the fuck? Get to my apartment. Now. My voice is ice. There's a pause, then the sound of movement. What's going on? Harrison. And that's all I have to say. Deb swears, the scrape of car keys and the slam of a door filling the silence. I'm on my way. I hang up, my grip tightening around the rattle as I stare at the empty chair in front of me. Brian isn't just leading me. He's forcing me to make a choice, the way I did with him. I turn, stepping back into the night, my pulse a steady drumbeat in my ears. This ends soon, one way or another. The streets blur past in streaks of neon and shadow. My hands grip the wheel with mechanical precision, my mind a razor-sharp focus honed by necessity. The rattle sits in the passenger seat, an anchor to the reality I can't afford to ignore. Brian has been in my home. He has touched my son's things. The thought slithers under my skin, burrowing deep into the marrow of my rage. I've killed for less. I've killed for strangers, for the victims of monsters who thought they were untouchable. But this is different. This is blood. A small, logical voice in my mind warns me to stay in control, to remember Harry's code, to think before I act. But the dark passenger isn't patient. It stirs, restless, whispering that I should have ended this long ago, that I should have sliced through Brian's throat when I had the chance, watched the light drain from his eyes instead of giving him the mercy of exile. Mercy is a mistake I won't make twice. I pull up to my apartment building, my heart hammering in a slow, deliberate rhythm. The lights are on. Deb's car is parked crookedly against the curb, door hanging open, engine still running. She never does that. I move, fast but calculated, my knife already in my grip as I slip through the threshold. The air inside is thick with tension, the kind that comes before a storm. The first thing I hear is Harrison, his cries sharp and frantic, a terrified wail that slices through me like a scalpel. The second thing I hear is Deb's voice. Put the fucking knife down, asshole. My breath stills. I turn the corner and see her in the living room, her gun raised, both hands steady. Deb has never been unsteady. She's aiming at the man standing just a few feet in front of her. Brian. He stands there, calm, almost amused, his hands raised slightly but not in surrender. No, he's taunting her, enjoying this, the game, the dance of predator and prey. But he's made a mistake, because Deborah Morgan isn't prey, and neither am I. Harrison is on the couch, wrapped in his blanket, his face red from crying, his tiny fists clenched. My son. My pulse pounds, my vision narrowing until all I see is Brian, standing too close, smiling like this is just another family reunion. You're late, little brother, Brian says, tilting his head. I was beginning to think you didn't care. Back the fuck up. Deb growls, finger tightening on the trigger. I swear to God I will put a bullet in your goddamn skull. Brian exhales through his nose, something like disappointment flickering in his eyes. Now, that's not very welcoming. I take a step forward, my knife low, hidden. What do you want? His smile widens. You already know. He gestures toward Harrison, as if the answer is obvious. He's a part of us, Dexter. He deserves to know the truth. He deserves to understand what he is, what he can be. His voice lowers, coaxing, almost gentle. You and I were abandoned to this life. No one guided us. No one gave us the choice. But Harrison, you don't get to say his name. The words snap from my lips before I can stop them. Brian's eyes gleam, sensing the crack in my control. Ah, he murmurs. There it is. A flicker of movement, too fast, too sudden. Brian lunges, his hand snapping out toward Deb's gun. She fires, the shot deafening in the confined space, but he's already twisting, knocking the weapon from her grip. I don't think. I move. My knife finds his side, slipping between ribs with practiced ease. Brian gasps, eyes widening, but he doesn't fall. Instead, he laughs, a wet, rasping sound. You finally did it. He breathes, voice thick with something like approval. You finally stopped pretending. Deb grabs her gun, leveling it again, but I shake my head. No, I say. He's mine. Brian's knees buckle, and I catch him before he collapses completely, lowering him to the floor with careful precision. His blood seeps through his shirt, warm against my skin. He coughs, red flecking his lips, but his smile never fades. You always were the better killer, he murmurs. I don't answer. I just watch as the light in his eyes flickers, dims. His breath shudders, slows, and then silence. I don't move. I don't feel relief. There is no victory. There is no victory here, no satisfaction. Only the weight of inevitability. Dex. Deb's voice is softer now, unsure. She lowers the gun, her eyes darting between me and Brian's lifeless body. She doesn't know. Not yet. She doesn't know who he was to me, who he still is. I close my eyes, inhaling deeply, the scent of blood thick in my lungs. This was never just a game to Brian. It was a lesson, a final, brutal lesson, and I understand it now. We can never escape what we are. We can only choose how much of it we're willing to show the world. The blood pools around Brian's body, seeping into the cracks of my apartment floor, filling the air with its copper sting. His eyes are still open, frozen in that final moment of twisted satisfaction. My own brother, my first ghost, now just another lifeless form beneath my hands. How many times have I seen this? How many times have I felt this exact sensation? The warmth fading from flesh, the body going still, the silence settling like dust. And yet, this time, it feels different. Deb is still staring, her breath jagged. Her grip on the gun loosened but not yet dropped. Her eyes flick between me and Brian, searching for an explanation, for something that makes sense. But there's nothing. Not in this moment, not in this room. Who the fuck was he, Dexter? Her voice is hoarse, raw. Why did he come after you? After Harrison? I don't answer right away. I'm too busy cataloging every mistake, every miscalculation that led to this moment. I should have killed Brian when I had the chance. I should have never let him slip through my fingers. But the past doesn't bend to regret, and now I have to deal with the fallout. Deb steps closer, her boots skimming the blood. Her breath is shaky, but her stance is firm. Dex, talk to me, right fucking now. I force a slow inhale. His name was Brian. Something flickers across her face. Recognition, confusion, a slow-forming horror. Brian? My brother. The silence that follows is suffocating. Deb takes a step back, her eyes wide, as if she's just realized she's standing too close to something dangerous. You're... She swallows hard. Are you fucking kidding me? I shake my head. I never told you. I couldn't. Her jaw clenches, her muscles tensing like she's preparing to throw a punch. So you just what? Decided to keep that little detail to yourself? Jesus Christ, Dexter, he murdered Rita. He broke into your home. Her voice cracks, and she swipes a hand over her face before pointing at Brian's body. And now he's dead on your floor, and I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Harrison lets out a sharp, hiccuping cry from the couch, his little body shifting beneath the blanket. The sound slices through the storm between us, grounding me, reminding me what really matters. I move toward him, lifting him into my arms, feeling the way he curls against my chest, his warmth calming the riot inside me. He doesn't understand what just happened, what was almost taken from him. But I do, and so does Deb. She exhales, running a hand through her hair, her fingers trembling slightly. Jesus, Dex. Her voice is quieter now, less anger, more something else, something close to fear. What the hell do we do now? Now, that's the real question, isn't it? There's a dead body in my living room. A personal kill, an emotional kill. A kill without ritual, without the code. A kill that could lead to exposure if handled incorrectly. I shift Harrison in my arms, my mind already calculating, mapping out the next steps. We clean this up. Deb lets out a dry, humorless laugh. Oh, just like that, huh? Another fucking day in the life of Dexter Morgan. I meet her gaze. You want the truth, Deb? There's no good way out of this. Brian was never going to stop. He was never going to let me go. And he sure as hell wasn't going to let Harrison grow up without his influence. I take a step forward, lowering my voice. So, yeah, just like that. She stares at me for a long moment, something unreadable in her expression. Then, finally, she mutters, "Fuck," and presses the heel of her hand against her forehead. I can't believe I'm doing this. But she moves. She moves because she knows I'm right. Because she understands even if she doesn't want to. We work in silence, the weight of the moment pressing into our bones. I lay Harrison back down, making sure he's safe, before turning my attention to Brian's body. The cleanup is methodical, precise. Every drop of blood wiped away, every trace of him erased. We don't speak as we wrap him in plastic, as we move him to my car under the cover of darkness. By the time we reach the marina, the sky is beginning to shift, the first hints of dawn creeping across the horizon. The water is calm, undisturbed, waiting. Deb watches as I lower Brian's body onto the deck of my boat, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her face unreadable. I don't know why I'm helping you, she mutters. I glance at her. Because you know this is the only way. She swallows hard, looking away. Jesus, Dex, I don't even know who you are anymore. The words should sting. Maybe they do. But I can't afford to dwell on them. Not now. I start the engine, the familiar hum vibrating beneath my feet. The dark water stretches ahead, endless, waiting to consume the last remnants of this nightmare. Brian wanted to free me, but all he did was remind me of the chains I can never break. The ocean stretches ahead, an unbroken abyss swallowing the last remnants of the night. A familiar rhythm hums beneath my feet, the steady vibration of my boat slicing through the waves, the gentle lapping of water against the hull. Brian lies wrapped in plastic at my feet, his body secured, his face concealed beneath layers of translucent film. His eyes, once so piercing, so knowing, will never open again. The world will never know what happened to Brian Moser. They won't know that he was my brother, that he was the first ghost to haunt me, the first real temptation to pull me from the code, that he killed Rita, ripped her from my life with surgical precision, just to make a point. And they will never know that I killed him, because in the end, it wasn't about justice. It wasn't about the code. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about survival. Mine, Harrison's. The sky is beginning to lighten, the inky black giving way to the soft grays of early morning. Time is pressing in on me. I need to finish this. I slow the boat, the hum of the engine dropping to a low purr. The spot is right, far enough from shore, deep enough that the body will never be found. I move quickly, efficiently, securing the weights, ensuring there is no room for error. Brian deserves no ritual, no ceremony. He is not a victim in need of justice. He is a mistake that needed correcting. And yet, as I stand over his body, a strange stillness creeps over me. I stare at the plastic-wrapped form, at the contours of his face barely visible beneath the layers. I remember the way he smiled at me in those final moments, as if he had won, as if, even in death, he had achieved what he set out to do. "You're free now, little brother." The words slither through my mind. Unwelcome. Am I? I grip the edge of the plastic-wrapped bundle and roll it overboard. The splash is muffled against the vastness of the ocean, the body disappearing beneath the surface, swallowed whole by the dark. The waves ripple outward, erasing the evidence of what I've done, what I've always done. I watch until the water smooths over, returning to its natural rhythm, as if nothing had ever disturbed it. Then I turn away. By the time I steer the boat back toward shore, the sun is beginning to rise, casting streaks of gold and orange across the sky. A new day, another chance to pretend. But something feels different. The weight of Brian's presence lingers, pressing against my chest, curling around my spine. He may be gone, but the ghost of him remains, whispering in the back of my mind. We can never escape what we are. I grip the wheel tighter. Maybe he was right. Maybe I never really wanted to. The drive back to my apartment is slow, methodical. I'm careful, as I always am, ensuring that nothing about my arrival seems out of place. The streets are quieter now, the city caught between the last remnants of night and the full awakening of morning. When I step inside, Deb is still there. She hasn't moved much from where I left her, sitting on my couch, her hands clasped together, eyes distant. Harrison is asleep in his crib, his small chest rising and falling with the steady rhythm of dreams untouched by the horrors of the world. Deb looks up as I enter, her gaze sharp, searching. "It's done," I say. She doesn't respond right away, just studies me, as if trying to see past the mask I've worn so well. Then, she exhales, a long, slow breath, and shakes her head. "You scare the shit out of me sometimes, Dex." There's no accusation in her voice, just truth. I sit across from her, the silence stretching between us like an open wound. Finally, she speaks again. "I need to know something." I nod. "Ask." Her fingers tighten around each other, knuckles white. "Do you ever regret it?" The question hangs in the air, heavy, suffocating. Regret. Do I regret Brian? Do I regret what I am? Do I regret that, despite everything, a part of me understood him? I should say yes. I should lie. But I don't. Instead, I meet her gaze and give her the only answer I can. "I don't know." She exhales sharply, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "Yeah, that's what I thought." She stands, running a hand through her hair, looking anywhere but at me. "I need to get out of here." I don't stop her. As she moves toward the door, she pauses, her voice quieter this time. "Harrison needs better than this, Dex. He needs better than whatever the hell this is." And then she's gone. The door clicks shut behind her, leaving me alone in the quiet. I glance at Harrison, still sleeping peacefully, untouched by the weight of the world. For now. But Brian was right about one thing. One day, Harrison will have to know the truth. One day, he'll have to understand what he comes from. And when that day comes, I'll have to decide. Will I be his Harry, or will I be his Brian? Because no matter how much I try to fight it, deny it, bury it beneath layers of normalcy, blood calls to blood, and I can only keep the truth from him for so long.